Hey everyone, welcome to day 9 and we are using our stash. So I've pulled out these crepe papers and they're just in a rainbow order, and what I'm doing is just adding a strip of double-sided tape and then pleating them across to make a ruffled edge. So basically I'm just in one way adding a fold before I push it down onto the glue to stick. Now I use double-sided glue because crepe paper reacts to wet media, so if you get it wet the colour runs, so you want to use double-sided tape rather than wet glue. And also wet glue still takes a little bit to dry so it can move around a little. So you can see here, just adding one above the other, and it is so simple but so striking. So I don't want to have them all the same size, and I'm just having a play. Now I didn't think forward, so when I actually end up matting this background with a full pattern paper in the background, but I didn't think that at the beginning, so I hadn't cut it down to make it smaller, so I do have to cut into the crepe paper a little, but I make it work in the end. So as I said before, I'm just folding it and then putting it down. So you don't have to, it's so forgiving. You don't have to get anything perfect at all. You just want that ruffle anyway. You want it to be just random and natural. So just play with sticking down the end, and then as you go along, you just push it up, fold it so that there's a little, like a mound, I guess, a mountain, and then you're pushing it down. I should stop explaining it because I'm sure most people know how to do it, and I'm probably making it worse and worse every time I explain it in a different way. So I'm just going to go through the colour order. This is a really bright orange, but it works so well. I really like the way it turns out in the end with the rainbow. You could definitely just do one colour, or you could do 2 or 3 colours. Just have a play with what you've got in your stash or what you've got in your kit that you're using. Just depends on what photo and whatnot that you've got going on. But I just thought it would look so bright and fun with a rainbow order that I wanted to try. And rainbow is something that is quite popular at the moment, and I see so many people making things and I'm like, oh, that's so brilliant, I should do something like that. And then it comes to a page and you're like, oh, this is how it turns out. And then you're like, oh, I could have done rainbow. So this time I decided I'd start with the rainbow idea and move from there. So here's where I realised it needs a background, otherwise there's no edging to it. It just doesn't work. So I did try some pattern paper, and then I settled on some black cardstock. And so I'm just going to cut a bit off the edge. So I wanted 1 inch from the top and the bottom, and I just cut it from one side rather than top and bottom half and half. And you can see there I cut some of the crepe paper, so you do have to just tidy it up a little, but you wouldn't know if I didn't show you that part. Once it's all glued down to the black cardstock, it's all the way it needs to be. So just gluing down those edges of the crepe paper just so that they're not floating around haphazardly, and I'm just going to glue that down. Now this is a little technique that actually I've seen people do, and I've actually made it work. So I've put all the edges off and then of the double-sided tape, and then you just pull the beginning and then fold it over so it doesn't move, and then you could just pull it off, and then your double-sided tape sticks. Now this means you can remove around your edges to make sure that you position it in the right spot, and then you just pull off the double-sided tape, so then you've got it in the position you want without having to pull all the double-sided tape off at the beginning, gluing it down, and then having to move it. So I've settled on this photo of my son sleeping. Sometimes I go in, and as I'm going to bed I just check on them each night, but sometimes I'm like, oh, you're sleeping in such a crazy way, and I end up taking a photo. Or I think, oh, I haven't taken a photo of you for a while, let me take it of you sleeping, because that's the creepy crazy mum that I am. So I've just added a black cardboard mat to that just so that it stands out on the rainbow. And I'm just going through my thickers to decide on a title. Now I thought I'd go through my phrase stickers just because something might pop in my head that way, and I found these blue glitter thickers that got the word dream on there, and then I've got these black ones that I could use the word in. So I figured the title could be Dream in Colour. Now I'm going to I counted my colours to see if I had enough to spell out colour. And I could use each letter, could be a different rainbow colour, and that's how I'm going to put it all together. So I'm just pulling out some other thickers, just in one in each colour, so so C is going to be red, the O is going to be orange, that kind of thing. So you'll see here it'll come together. So opening the edge, I used the long edge to open up my thickers so I could just reach in and get them. So pulling out dream, then I'm pulling out in. I didn't really think I was going to use that when in doubt, but you never know. Instead, I decided I'd use it now. You've got to just use your supplies when you can use them. Otherwise, you're hoarding them forever. So I'm just going to get some plastic packaging, and I'm going to spell out the word colour. And this is just so I can move it around and so I can see what the letters all look like together. So you can see here I'm just using a range. So I've got that glitter red thicker, a just plain sticker orange, and then a puffy yellow, puffy green, then another puffy blue, and then a chipboard purple. So I'm just going to have a fiddle around with where the title's going to go. Now this layout becomes so simple in the end because the background of the crepe paper is the focal point. It's so striking. I don't want to cover it all up. I want it to look all that texture and love the style of the background. So I'm just going to commit to my photo because this is where it needs to be in terms of design for me, that bottom left corner. I do use some foam tape just to stick it up. I don't know why I'm using so much foam tape. Should have got out my foam. So on it goes. That just adds, it's good I think the fun foam is just fun because we've already got the crepe paper texture and height. And you can see here, oh my goodness, I knew that was the title, but do you know, I did not know where it needed to go. I get there in the end, but by George, it took me forever. And I was trying to think as I was doing this, what kind of ephemera am I going to use? Where is it going to go? And because I hadn't pulled anything out. So I'm thinking these two things as I'm going, trying to work out what I'm doing. You could see things do not come together as quickly as they often look in a video. If I didn't keep in this little fiddling around with the layout, you would think that I'd had it all together and worked it all out. Now I actually changed that letter there, but I didn't like the way it was looking, so I've changed it to a different one. Now I've gone with a cloud motif in terms of the ephemera. I've just finished doing yesterday's video, which was the art journal process with the clouds in the background. So they were already in my mind, but also we're talking about dreaming and something about clouds and dreaming. It sort of, all ties in. Now I thought the vellum would be a cool look because you could layer it up like that, but also you could still see the background behind it. It's not taking away from the background and adding this bold craziness in the foreground. So I'm going to put these down, and then I figured I would put my words on them and they would be where my words nestle, so that they're not just floating in random. I knew they couldn't work around my photo there as the base, so it needed to have something above it and below it to rest on. So I was using some scraps of vellum that I'd had from offcuts. Always keep your white cardstock and your vellum offcuts because you can always use them for something. And in the last 2 days they've been clouds. So you can see there I've got 3 little bases of clouds, and on go my title. And I still have a little play with them because in my head I like to read left to right, and I know I'm reading left to right because the top line's dream, the second line's in, and the third line's colour. But I wondered whether it needed to be like this, And then the design of that just doesn't flow nicely. So I go back to the original position and I stick with that, and that's the way it's going to be. So I don't have vellum tape, which some people do. I was going to use foam tape and then realised I'd heavily be able to see that. Instead, I just used double-sided tape, and you can see it a little, but not so much. Like, that's covered by the dream word anyway, that part, and I just use a tiny bit on this one. If you're looking that hard and you're debating or criticising my foam tape or my double-sided tape underneath my vellum, I feel you're missing the point of the whole layout and why you're looking at it. So on those clouds go, and on goes my titles. And I'm just going to add a few little finishing touches to it in terms of sprinkles. I do like the fact that it's vellum and it's not taken away from the background, so I didn't want to add in any die cuts. Now this photo, you could definitely, if you didn't go with that crepe paper background, definitely go with some fun little crazy, unicorns and llamas and all those kind of things, because, you're dreaming and that kind of thing about, dreaming about all those fun little things. But I decided this was going to be the way I took this one. I'm sure I've got, like I said, I've taken plenty of photos while they're sleeping where I can use that, all those crazy icons that we sometimes are not too sure about. So just using my glue here because it's chipboard, and of course it doesn't glue by itself. Now lifting it up is a technique that I use just to make sure it looks cohesive together. Using a lead pencil to wipe out most of the glue, because it's crepe paper, the glue will soak in. So I didn't want excess glue that had slid out from behind the letter. Now using some rainbow hearts, these are from Flutterby Designs, and I actually need a new packet because I'm running low, or have run out on some of the colours. But just adding a few of the different colours around. The good thing about rainbow water is that you can add all the colours. But of course, then you think and you think and you think and you think about all the colours as well. So not much more to the layout, just adding that one there. I was debating about doubling up on colours, that's why it took me forever. So ridiculous. And I'm just going to add two little black words. These just are tiny phrase words from Kmart, and I just like the boldness of it, but it also just adds to that title, but also that cluster down there. My love and cutie are those ones. And that's going to be the layout. So I hope you've enjoyed the process today. And here's the close-ups. I'll catch you tomorrow's video. Bye.